Good day. Today I'm going to be discussing chapter 10, um, using EJS, so connecting views with templates. And Lindo's navigating my session today. Alright, cool. So, firstly, I have here my home controller.js, right? Well, let me first show my front end, firstly, how it works. So created my server and making a GET request by putting name, my first name and my last name there, and then it shows the greeting here, hello, with my first name and last name. That's because I put it here in the URL. Then you can change it, and then it shows over there. So let's discuss how that works in the code. So here I have my home controller.js. This is basically like handling my routes. So if I can explain this here, in this function basically is handling my routes in order to access the link, make the request, and show the name and surname in the front end. So basically when that request is made, what happens is after that a response is given. That's because of this render function, right? And that response that is given shows my first and last name, which is basically stored in these variables over here. So that handles that route. Then to explain the route that I created for that, which is over here, it's a GET route, so a GET request being made. So here's the URL that we access. As soon as I access this name URL, and then I put the first name and last name, which is basically stored in these params, right? That request is obviously made, and then the response that is given is basically because of this function here that renders my first and last name over there. So basically, I placed the function within this GET voucher, so this render function, and what it's referring to now is basically rendering index, right? So index is basically referring to my index.ejs, which is basically the template that is displayed in the front end, right? So it's basically my JavaScript embedded in my HTML. So you can see here, I have created the name equals first name and surname equals surname here, and I passed those variables within my h1 tags over here. And because of that render function that I placed here, then that shows in the front end basically. In comparison to Lindo, can you share your screen?
Okay, I am sharing my screen. I need to go to the home controller.
Yeah, go to home controller.
Okay.
So basically here, I would say, yeah, here in this home controller, it has basically this variable over here, and with reg params my name, and then it's basically has these two functions, so both the render functions, which is rendering index, right? and then it shows the first and last name. So in her code over here, that's how it shows. But basically, in main.js, basically the difference is just calling home controller dot respond with name. So basically accessing the home controller module and then accessing that function, right? Mainly because of the function respond with name is basically being called, and then it shows the first and last name over there. But if you go back to the main.js, you scroll up, yeah, in line 3, in the constant variable there, we basically imported controllers, home controller, so that you can use that function within the home controller. In the home controller.js, so that you can render the first and last name to the front end. And yeah, so that's basically how that works with EJS and the routing as well, and home controller.js. Then also created here in layout.ejs, we have a layout.ejs. This is basically where like all the other templates inherit everything. So we have our navigation bar as well as the footer over here that we've placed, and that's mainly shows here in our front end. So the top navigation, and then over here it shows any footer based here. So this is the footer down below here. That's because I've placed that within my layout.ejs. And yeah, I think that covers the summary for the chapter. Do you want to add anything?
Hey. No, I don't want to